Today on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, a contingent of 3 visitors from the great state of Tennessee descended on Roswell, Georgia, on their way to Augusta for this weekend's GYBT tournament. Their parents figured Roswell was a good halfway point to break up their long drive. And they couldn't have picked a better weekend to pay a visit to Prodigy, as many of our A players were out of town for a big tournament in North Carolina. So these 3 visitors and 8 Roswell kids all competed for a chance to make the finals in 2 divisions, the Littles and the Bigs. So now, let's meet our field today. First in the Littles division, last week's runner-up is back today, as little Rowan Sautner qualified in the number 2 position. He'll face one of our Tennessee visitors, Gavin Murray, for the championship in the Littles. Then, a 5-player stepladder in the Bigs. Qualifying in the 5th position is another one of the Tennessee Invaders, and Gavin's brother, Dillon Murray. He'll face our number 4 qualifier, Roswell's Jake Bowling. Jake was one half of the winning team in 2017 of the Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout. The winner of that match will face the number 3 qualifier and the 3rd member of the Tennessee contingent, Dillon Hubley. The winner of that match will advance to our semifinal, where he'll face Brunswick Zone Roswell's Anthony Smiga. Anthony is looking for his 2nd title on Prodigy. And the winner of that match will bowl for the title today against our tournament leader, Nick Dishinger. Nick has already won 3 times this season on Prodigy and is going for number 4 today. And that's our talented field today. Celebrating junior bowling, elevating junior bowlers. This is Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Live on tape from Brunswick Zone Roswell in Roswell, Georgia. This is Coach Randy welcoming you to episode 75 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, 10-Pin Alley. And yes, the spelling is correct, as we're saluting our 3 visitors from Tennessee. Never before have we hosted 3 visitors from one out-of-state location on a single show. And lo and behold, all 3 of them qualified for the championship round today. With so many of Prodigy's A players away at the Interstate All-Stars tournament in Charlotte, North Carolina this weekend, we decided to go easy on the Prodigy kids today. So we're bowling on the house shot, otherwise known as Stone Street. So I expect we'll see some decent scores today. Indeed, as you see in the Littles division, Gavin and Rowan got off to fast starts in our 2-game qualifying round, tying at 182. Rowan's league average is in the 130s. So obviously there were no lingering emotional scars from his first frame instant elimination suffered at last week's Halloween Spooktacular. He needs to knock down the 1, 2, and 4. Oh no. And that's it, game over. And even little Josh, who has had difficulty just breaking 100 on the sport shots we've been throwing at these kids in recent weeks, fired a solid number in his opening game. And while Hunter got off to a solid start in the first game, he tapered off a bit in game 2, enabling Rowan to slip past him, even though Rowan also hit some rough sledding in game 2. Gavin, however, stayed pretty steady throughout qualifying, and that's why he's our leader today. So here we go with the championship match in the Littles. Gavin, being the higher finisher, had the option, and he has elected to let Rowan start the match. Gavin wanted to finish first. And we see these 2 exchange handshakes to get things started. And Rowan is set to go. Oh, man. I don't know how that 7-pin stood up. Maybe we can find out here. Let's watch the 2-pin. I think it'll be the culprit. Throws it right over the 4th arrow, and the 2-pin goes to the wall and turns around a couple of times, and it touched the 7, but
9 and a wiggle is all you get. And he missed it on the right. Well, doggone it. I'm sure he hoped for better, but he's got 9 more frames. And who's this guy? It's Gavin, one of the Tennessee contingent. Get a good look at this game. You might be seeing it for years to come. He's got that magic release that some of these young kids have, and I don't know where they get it. That one just a skosh high. And he leaves the 4-7. Well, now bowling on the house shot, of course, you'll have a buildup of oil in the middle of the lane. That's what kept Rowan's ball from hooking into the 7-pin, but Gavin has no problem with the 4-7. So a couple of marks to start for our visitor. And now Rowan up on the right. He's pretty accurate, hitting that 4th arrow each time. Might need to move his feet just a little farther left, but there's the 3-6-10. And how you make it. Put the ball on the 3 and the 6. The 6 should get the 10. Well, he doesn't get it out quite far enough to the right, but it's a spare nonetheless on the inside. Not the way we coach it, but whatever it takes. Well, you could tell when that ball passed the arrows, it was left of target. He hit about the 5th arrow instead of the 4th that time and leaves the troublesome 3-9 spare. Got to hit this one square on the face if you want to get that back pin out. Well, you do it just like that. He makes short work of it. Take another look. This is a harder spare for guys that throw the lighter ball because you really do have to hit that pin pretty square. You can hit it a little bit on the right side, but not much. The ball will deflect. And there's another shot that cut short. He doesn't quite get it out to the right, and another look at the 3-6-10. And that's how you convert it. Right on the 3 and the 6. Well, these 3 youngsters from Tennessee were traveling to Augusta from the Nashville area. And this was about halfway. There's a solid strike. I'll bet he'd like to throw a couple more of those at the GYBT in Augusta this weekend. Take another look at it. 3rd arrow at the arrows, and out to about 9 at the break point. Flush. Well, and once again, Rowan doesn't quite get it projected far enough to the right. He pulled that one and leaves the 3-9 again. Can he make it twice in a row? Yes, he can. That's a heck of a conversion. Twice as good when you can do it twice in a row. That's out to about the 3rd board. And he brings that plastic ball back. And we've got pins falling all over the place. Look at this. Partial rack on the right lane, and the 7-pin won't stand up on the left lane. So Rowan's going to have to reset the rack. Well, he will learn as he gets older that These machines are a lot older than his parents. And it keeps knocking over the 7-pin whenever it sets a full rack. That's usually the sign of pins on top of the rack. Sometimes an extra pin gets caught up in there and it just wreaks all kinds of havoc. And we got no 7-pin again, and Rowan can't believe it. He's never seen anything quite this incredible. Well, maybe we'll get lucky this time, you suppose? Can we get all 10 set this time, please? There they are, and there they go. So, somebody call the nurse. Is there a doctor in the house? How about a mechanic? All right. Well, somebody said they thought they saw something clear on top of the rack when it set the last batch of pins. We'll see. We'll try it one more time, and if this doesn't work, we'll summon Mike the mechanic. There's Mike now. So we'll tell you that next week, Prodigy Bowlers Tour will celebrate our 2nd anniversary, and we hope we'll bowl our first Swiss. If we have ample participation, we will. Qualifying begins at 12:30 p.m. Saturday, November 10th at Brunswick Zone, Roswell. It costs $10 to participate. And that show will drop on Friday, November 16th. And then the following weekend, November 17th, we tape our annual Thanksgiving Turkey Shootout, open to our Roswell League bowlers only. Sorry if you're thinking about coming to try that one. The Thanksgiving show will drop on Thanksgiving Day, my birthday, November 22nd. And our next taping will be on December 1st, because we'll take Thanksgiving weekend off. Well, it seemed like he got that one wide enough, but the back ends are really hooking for Rowan. And so he is either going to have to not throw it quite so far out to the right where it gets into the dry, or move his feet a little farther left and play inside. Looks like we've got an overhead scoring issue that may have been caused by those pins falling on that rack before. The pin setter thinks that there was one knocked down that wasn't really knocked down, so we'll fix it. But unfortunately, it may have been a bit of a distraction for Rowan, because he's not one to throw them in the gutter very often. But that hands Gavin a 28-pin lead, and he's got to strike up. But that goes high, and he leaves another 3-6-10. Well, he converted it the last time he stood up on the right lane. He'll give it another go. Cross lane. Ooh, well, don't hurt him. Just barely grazed that 3-pin, but got enough of it to knock it over. They say you don't have to power a spare down, you just got to touch the pins. That's basically true. He wasn't sure if that one was coming back, but it did. And that looked like a pretty good shot, but it hit a little flat. They may have pulled it just a touch. When you're bowling on the house shot with the heavy buildup of oil in the center of the lane, sometimes the ball has to go a little farther down the lane before it begins to bite, or read the lane, as we like to say nowadays. And it waits a little too long to build up any power. See, if he'd thrown it out there, it probably would have come back and carried a strike. Hey, look down at the lower left corner of your screen. You can see the right ear of Sandy, the legendary Sandy. He of the Crazy Dough and lanes turning off in the middle of our competition, delivering food to someone who must be on another pair of lanes. Nobody's claiming it here. Well, through the nose, and Rowan's got the 6-10, and he seems a bit befuddled this game. Rowan will usually give you 2 or 3 strikes just about every game, sometimes more. Whoops. Well, now he's got this straight ball delivery that he's been working on. That ball didn't have any axis rotation, or not much anyway, but he just didn't throw it out to the right far enough. So another open frame for Rowan, and now a 39-pin deficit with just 4 frames left. And it looks like Rowan is trying to make a little adjustment with his feet. Well, that's not where he meant to throw it, but he got away with the Brooklyn. We'll take another look at this one. What in the world took out the right side of the rack? That ball never got to the right half of the lane, but it mixed them up. And a strike is a strike. Once again, Gavin having a little difficulty staying off the nose on the right lane. But he stayed out of trouble thus far, leaving just the 4. And covering it. So, Gavin with a clean game thus far. And that's the difference. But his spare-making ability will be tested with this cluster. The 2-4-5-7. You can make it on either side of the 2-pin. We recommend throwing it between the 2 and the 5. And that's textbook right there. He's a good little player. Plays right down about the 12th board at the arrows. Makes short work of that spare. All right, Rowan. See if he can put a double up. Oh, man. Wow. Well, it certainly had ample entry angle. Watch this. He gets that to about 19 at the arrows, out to about 4 at the break point. But that light ball deflects to the right of the 5-pin, and now he's got himself a little split. The 5-7, put the ball on the right side of the 5-pin, slide it over into the 7. And all the body English in the world can't buy him a spare there in the 8th frame. So Rowan falls 46 pins in arrears, and it's not looking good for the home team here. That was a better shot. It just came up a little high, and he's got the 4-7. The best Rowan can do is 155, and I imagine Gavin will get there in his next frame. Well, he also throws one that seemed a bit DOA, dead on arrival. That ball just deflected right around the 5. And now he's got a slightly more difficult split, the 5-10. More difficult only because the ball is hooking away, but that 8 count was enough to give him the match. So it gives it a good run, but an open frame and really doesn't matter. The outcome of this match is already known. And he will go through the motions of finishing out here. Possible 187. That's a solid strike right there. Well, he won't get his clean game, but he bowled a solid game. And threw a lot of quality shots. None better than that one. Gets that one a little wide. It's not going to matter. He's going to be in the 170s, 177 with a conversion here. He will finish with a 176. Rowan gives him congratulations, knowing that he has taken second for his second week in a row. At least this time he got to bowl a whole match. Last week, the championship match on our Halloween Spooktacular, the trick or treat, as easy as 1, 2, 3. It wasn't so easy for Rowan. He got eliminated in the first frame of his match, so talk about one and done. He'll be back. He's a good little bowler, and he's just going to get better and better as he gets bigger and bigger. But today it's Gavin Murray, our visitor from Tennessee, who will sign the coveted trophy pin. How about that? His very first time here. And then the bigs go at it. So, one of our three visitors from Tennessee has made a beeline for the winner's circle, as Gavin Murray, the #1 seed in the Littles, stayed consistent. His games of 182 and 172 in qualifying obviously were no fluke, as he backed them up with a 176 against Rowan Salkner to claim first prize in the Littles division. And he's been watching Prodigy up in the volunteer state enough to know what comes next.
Hey, look, everybody. It's Gavin.
Hi.
Here you are, down from Tennessee. Where do you live in Tennessee?
Murfreesboro.
Where's that?
Near Nashville.
And you watch Prodigy up there? Awesome. And here you are, your first time here, and you're signing the coveted trophy pin.
And my third time here, but me missing twice.
It's 2 seconds in a row for Rowan. You bowled great just to get here. But you know what? I think Gavin, I don't know if he really belongs in the Littles. He was bowling awfully good all day. But you know what? You won fair and square, and now you get to sign the coveted trophy pin. So have at it, young man. Put your name on there. And you know what this means. This entitles you to come back at the end of the season for the Prodigy Tournament of Champions, where the winner will get to keep the coveted trophy pin. You are moving on to bowl in the GYBT in Augusta tomorrow, and we wish you the very best.
Thanks.
Congratulations.
What? This
Power in a can. Power.
And now we turn our attention to the bigs. We begin by taking a look at how the qualifying round went. As you can see, Nick made a statement early with an 11-strike, 267 game. Dillon got himself in position to be there at the end with a 216 out of the gate. And then Anthony made the big move in Game 2 with a big 234 game to grab the second spot in our stepladder. But right now, it's time we get this thing started. And we begin with our number 5 seed, Gavin Murray's older brother, Dillon, squaring off with our number 4 qualifier, Jake Bowling. And you know, it is such a rarity on Prodigy Bowlers Tour that we see a left-hander that I feel obliged to tell you, you don't have to adjust your computer screen. Well, welcome to Roswell, young Mr. Murray. That's just about as flush as you can throw it. Over about the 7th board. Around 8 at the breakpoint, and just chops the 5 right off the 8. All right, well, a spare to start. That could easily have been a strike, but not to be. All right, now Jake, who you've seen a couple of times on Prodigy. He won our Thanksgiving turkey shootout, or was part of the winning team a year ago. But he has since converted to two-handed. And yikes. That one got away from him and nearly threw that one in the moat. Clips off 3, and he will go back to the drawing board. You shoot this just like a strike. Just try to put it in the 1-3 pocket. But mostly you just try to shake that one off. Don't let it bother you. Oh my, a little overcompensation, I'd say. And now he's just got to regroup. 3 off the right, 3 off the left. That's 6 out. And not what he wanted. Oh my. Well, he got that one wide again, and it didn't quite recover it. At least clipped the head pin, but the disastrous 2-8-10, and Jake is going to get out of these first 2 frames with not what he wanted. A couple of opens, it looks like, unless something crazy happens here. I've seen the 2-8-10 made, but only a couple of times in my life. And he takes the 2 and swallows his medicine. A rough way to start, so Dillon off to a big lead. And there's a swisher. I do not know what weight ball Dillon throws, but I would guess it's a little on the light side. Judging from this pin action, it comes in at a good angle, but just barely gets the 5 to go out. Still, that's a strike. And he's wide of the mark with that one.
He's playing around the 7th board at the arrows, I believe. That's where his first ball was, on that left lane. But this time he got it out around 5, and it got out to about the 3rd board at the break point. Here's the 1-3-8. You want to put the ball on the left side of the head pin, let it deflect into the 8. But he's wide again with that one, and, well, gives a gift right back to Jake. So he squanders part of that big lead that Jake handed him. Let's see if Jake can stop the bleeding here. Oh my. Well, if you're gonna do this, get it out of your system early in the match, I guess. The 4-10, it can be made. It's a beautiful thing when somebody can slide that 4 across the deck and into the 10. Let's see if he can do it. Goes with that white spare ball, and it's not to be this time. And 3 open frames to start the match. And Jake has dug himself a big hole early. Meanwhile, Dillon could have had a double to start. See if Jake can get on the board here. Oh, man. Almost a 4-7-9. He gets the fast 8. This is what we call the fast 8, where the 2-pin flies up and around the 4 and 7. And he almost left the 9 with it. I have no idea what took out the 9, but at least he left something makeable. And there's a spare for Jake. He's got to be breathing a sigh of relief. Oh my goodness. Well, I mentioned a moment ago what weight ball Dillon throws. I don't know, but watch this. It looks like a good shot, but watch the ball deflect left. Sends the 5 in front of the 9, the 4 around the 7, and now he's got the 7-9. Just take one and hope something bounces out. It almost never does, but it's about all you can do with the 7-9. A right-hander might be able to tick that 9-pin and get it to fall over into the 7. It's rare, but I've seen it done. A little high that time. At least Dillon got that one to face up a little better. And he's got a much easier spare with the 6-10. Well, we're seeing these two players struggle a bit in this match. They bowled pretty well in qualifying. Dillon with a 164 and a 209. Jake with a 183 and a 192. They did not bowl on this pair of lanes, however. This pair was fresh when we went on today. All right, there's a much better shot, and now Jake has got to feel like he's settled down a little bit. Watch this one. Looks like he's playing the second arrow. That one goes just a hair high, and he leaves the 4. Oh, man. Well, they say football is a game of inches. How about 1/16 of an inch? That's why they paint them. All right. And that's a solid strike right there. Best shot he's thrown today. We'll take another look at it. Jake has a somewhat unusual motion. He kind of hoists the ball to the top of the swing and then kind of pushes his forearm forward. We're going to take a closer look at it a little later. And Dillon's ball just does not get up that time, and he's got a problem. The washout, the left-hander's washout. The 1, 3, 6, 7. Move your feet about 7 boards to the left, throw it over your strike target, and you should make this. But he pulls it a little farther right than he'd have liked, and that's 8 out. And now we've got us a tight match, 4 pins separating these two. There's a pretty good shot right there. Just a little deflection with the ball. It doesn't quite drive through the way he'd have liked. And so he leaves the weak 7. Oh! And it slips off into the moat. And that is an unforced error there for Dillon. And now Jake gets up in the 7th frame, suddenly in the driver's seat. Who'd have guessed that after he began with 3 open frames? But he's up by 15 now and has a strike up in the 6th. And there's his best shot of the match so far. And he moves out to a 25-pin lead. Let's do a coach's clicker on Jake. I want you to pay particular attention to the distance between his elbow and his trunk. And now again, look at the distance between his elbow and his body and see where his hand is, on top of the ball and on the right side of the ball. Now, we want to compare that with what I think everyone would agree is the quintessential best player in the world and the model for all two-handers. Look at his elbow. Look how close Jason Belmonte keeps his right arm to the right side of his body. Going back at the top of the swing and then coming through, his arm is fully extended. And look how close he's got it to his body. And that ball just rolls off his hand. His fingers are below the equator, and he rolls it off his hand. He doesn't toss the ball out on the lane. He rolls it off his fingers. And that, boys and girls, is how it's done. Jake comes up a little thin that time. So his string stops after 2 strikes, but he leaves a simple spare, the 2-pin. And he has no problems with it at all. All right. Let's see if this crafty left-hander can get back in this match. Oh, man. Well, we've seen some deflection with his bowling balls today. I don't know if he's just not getting out of it clean. It looks okay. There's the 5-6 baby split. Put the ball right between them. It's the only way to make it. And he gets too much 6-pin. I have seen it made on the outside a couple of times, but you want to put the ball between them. All right, over to the left lane. Got to get busy now. There's a wall shot strike. Dillon with a possible 157. watch this one again. The head pin is the one that will go to the right wall. It will come back and slap out the 5, 6, and 10. But now Jake can put an end to this madness. Yeah, that one kind of hits a little dead. Nearly had the 5-7. Nearly had the 4-5-7. He's going to need a spare in one of these last 2 frames. Shouldn't have any problem with this 7-pin. And he doesn't. So now he just needs good count. He'll put this match away and move on to the next one. Even with the criticism I gave, and I hope it was constructive, of his game, he has come a long way in the last year. With shots like that. Jake, when he started bowling with us in league a year ago, he was like a deer in the headlights, man. Likeable kid, but didn't really know what he was doing. Now he started to figure it out. And I'll tell you something else, he has practiced his butt off. Every time I go up to the bowling alley, either at Brunswick's own Roswell or over at AMF Woodstock, I always seem to see Jake and his dad. Jake is practicing. And it's paying off. He's only been at it a little over a year. .171. Right in the ballpark of what he bowled in his 2 qualifying games. Dillon, I know, would like to finish strong. There's a solid strike in the 10th. Prodigy just a tune-up for Dillon and his brother Gavin, and the next Dillon we'll see up in the next match. They're all heading to Augusta for the GYBT tournament tomorrow. Well, that one crosses over, so Dillon's going to end up in the 140s, and I know that's a disappointing finish, but I hope he had fun anyway. But it's Jake Bowling who's moving on to match 2. He'll face our other Tennessee player, Dillon Hubley, when we return right after this message.
It's not about makes or misses.
Solomon Solomon makes history today.
It's not about trophies or fame.
How about this young man?
It's about the people you meet and the memories you make.
You know, I think the social aspect of it is really what it means for me to be a bowler. You know, that sense of community that you get with other people that you bowl with.
And it's a wonderful thing about the sport. It brings you close to people beyond just kind of the bowling itself, and I would have never expected that.
It was a slow start for Jake Bowling as he opened in the first 3 frames. But, you know, there's a saying in golf that applies here. They say in golf, it's not how you drive, it's how you arrive. And indeed, despite falling way behind Gavin Murray, Jake stayed patient. I often say you never know what your opponent is going to do. Just keep trying to make quality shots and we'll add them up at the end. Sure enough, Dillon gave Jake a few gifts of his own in the latter stages of the match, and Jake was able to take advantage. It's a lesson for all bowlers. But right now, for Jake, that's 1 Dillon down and 1 more Dillon to go. as now our number 3 qualifier, Dillon Hubley, is up next. And this young man looks to me like he came ready to play.
The two players exchange handshakes, and again, it looks like we've got a little scoring issue in the bowling center. We just need to get the arrows reversed on the overhead scoreboards. That should only take a few seconds, and then we'll be ready to get started. And now you'll get your first look at Dillon Hubley. Oh, nearly a wall shot, but the 5 remains. What a way to start. It's an easy spare, at least. Pretty good ball. May have just thrown it through the break. He may have just put a little too much heat on it, and it just never quite read the lane to get into a roll at the end. But a solid spare on an easy 5-pin. So I imagine if you told Jake an hour ago that he'd start with a spare, he'd say, "Yeah, that's cool. I'll take that." All right, Jake bowling. With a name like that, he had to gravitate toward this sport, didn't he? Got a little bit of talent, too. Starting to let it show. Take another look at this one. And we showed you a couple of things that he could work to improve on, but he is so much better now than he was a year ago. It's just night and day. This is where he needs to improve, is just raise his level of consistency. He has added a pretty solid strike ball to his bag of tricks as we look at how to convert the 2-8 double wood spare. But like with most youth players we see, it's the spare game that usually is the big stumbling block as they try to go from being a 140, 150 average up to a 200 average. There's a good strike ball. Speaking of strike balls, let's take a closer look at Dillon Hubley's game with our coach's clicker. He has an interesting swing. There's a little too much muscle in his swing, I don't like, but he does a lot of things right. But one thing he could work on, watch his push away. It goes out to the right, and that causes the ball to wrap behind his back. And when it gets behind your back like that, there's only one thing it can do. Well, 2, really. You could throw it back to the right, but what he does, and like what most people do, is they bounce the swing out to the right. See that? It changes direction at the top. He goes from inside the ball to outside the ball, and he comes down on a different plane than the one he goes back. And now the fix for that is to change his push away to more inside his right knee so that the ball swings away from his body, and if he has a loop, it's better to loop from out to in, from the backswing to the through swing. Kind of like what you see in golf with the over-the-top swing. A lot of players come inside going back, and then they swing from out to in coming down. You don't want to do that in golf. You don't want to do that in bowling. But Dillon has pretty good muscle memory, and his swing is pretty darn repeatable. He's got a league average of around 190, 195, so he must be doing something right. Well, now this is the problem with a swing that is all arms and doesn't make much use of the trunk or the core. We see how to make the 310 baby split. When it's all arms, you don't have as much power, you don't have as much repeatability, because you're relying on the little muscles instead of the big ones. There's a conversion of the 310 baby split. Jake's got to be pretty happy about that. Watch this. He goes with that plastic ball. Plays down the right side of the lane. I don't like that, but he fits it in there perfectly. And that's a good spare. And he backs it up with a solid strike, high flush. We'll watch this one again. He almost pushes that ball down the lane. You see that? Boy, there's another good one. And the young man in orange looks like he's got it going. He rips through it at the bottom, doesn't he? Now, if he could improve that swing plane like we were talking about, he could have that thing right on line every time and not sacrifice any of that power. In fact, he'd have more power. You hear Randy Peterson on TV talk about working the inside of the ball rather than working the outside of the ball. That's what he's talking about. Keeping that elbow in close to your body in the downswing so that your hand stays on the inside. The minute your elbow kicks out to the right, your hand moves around to the outside of the ball. And you watch the pros in super slow motion. There are videos on YouTube, you can see it. Their hand is under and behind the ball as they're coming through, not on the side of it. There's another good strike. These guys have gotten zeroed in. This is more like what we expected on the house shot today. Out to about 7 at the break point, and see you later, Pins. And this time he gets the wall shot. And you gotta love it when the light shakers are smiling on you. Watch this. The head pin is going to go to the left wall and come back and get the 4, 5, and 7. Thank you very much. The Dick Weber special. Just a little high. And I imagine that's going to be the shot that Dillon's going to fight until he works on that swing plane issue, is the pull. When your swing bounces from in to out, you'll have a tendency to come across the line and miss left. But he covers the spare. Jake, with that turkey in the middle of this match, has moved out ahead. But now we're down to the last 4 frames of the match, and it's about to get serious. And Dillon finds the pocket that time and puts him to sleep. Watch it. Right over the second arrow. Right about the second arrow at the break point, too. He's just playing a simple down and in shot. Nothing wrong with that. Now Jake cuts through the heart of them and breaks down a choppable spare and leaves just the 3. We'll just go with his strike ball on this. No reason to switch to a spare ball. The 3-pin is part of the pocket. Just move your feet 2 or 3 boards left, throw your strike ball. Nothing to it. Well, Jake with an 8-pin lead, but I would say that Dillon has the advantage right now because he's got that strike up in the 7th. And that one comes up a little wide, and now he's got a tricky little cluster, the 2-4-5. I like to see the kids play this down the left side of the lane. It gives you a better angle to avoid chopping the 2 off the 5. Jake's going to play it kind of down the center. Nearly chopped it, but gets all 3 pins. You touch all 3 pins with the ball, you'll make it. But now Dillon, working on that strike, can move ahead with another. And there's that pull shot I was talking about. That one crosses all the way over. And he leaves the 5, lucky to come away with just a single pin spare. That's a better shot there, and an easy conversion. This kid can bowl a little bit, I do believe. Doesn't surprise me that he's carrying a 190 or 95 average. Got all of that one. You could see it off his hand. That's worth a second look. Watch this ball. He's got a nice little lift as it comes off his hand. He doesn't toss it out there. He just lifts it a little, and man, that gets into a nice roll at the end. Never a doubt. And Jake rips the rack. That's the way you answer those strikes. Watch this. This one will find the half pocket. Not quite solid pocket, just a little on the light side, but he sends that 5 over into the left side of the rack and Shred City. 2 more of those and he can shut Dillon out. No, but no. Through the nose, and the 4-6 rears its ugly head. Well, let's watch this replay. I want to show you something. Remember I showed you where Belmonte's hand is in the delivery? Here's Jake. His hand is on top of the ball. You want that hand below and behind the ball. He's relying on his left hand to hold that ball, and he just shoves it down the lane with his forearm, and now he's got a problem. Just take the 1, hope for a miracle. It doesn't happen this time. Still, 192 is a good game. He has forced Dillon to mark. Dillon must get a strike or spare here, and then he'll need a few pins in count. Oh, there's that pull shot again, but he gets away with it and gets a reverse Brooklyn wall shot. rather be lucky than good. Watch this. Oh, man. What a break. If he had left the 5-6, who knows what might have happened. But as it is, he just needs to stay behind the foul line. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. And it's going to be Dillon Hubley who moves on to the semifinal match. How about that? And a clean game to boot. Well, Jake bowled well. Those 3 strikes in the middle of the match turned the match around, but in the end, it was Dillon who made the shots in the 10th frame. And he will be moving on to meet Anthony Smiga in our semifinal match when we return right after this. Breakpoint. Well, Jake put up a good fight, but that 4-6 split in the 10th frame kind of did him in. Still, 192 is a respectable score, and I'm sure Jake will be back. But it's the last of our Tennessee Volunteers who escaped that match and is now on to the semifinal, where he'll face Big Tony. Anthony Smiga has been knocking on the door again and again ever since winning his first title on Prodigy Bowlers Tour 1 year ago next week. And while next week is our 2nd anniversary show, I'm sure Anthony doesn't want to wait till then to get win number 2. But in the meantime, Dillon looks like he's measured this pair of lanes and is ready to keep climbing the ladder to victory. Now, I will say that whichever of these young men wins this match, he's going to have his hands full in the next match against our tournament leader, Nick Dishinger, as he has seemed just about unbeatable, but I know these two would like to get a shot at him. And Dillon looks pretty determined. Nice ball to start the match. That's about as good as you can do it. He rips through it, gets a handful, and plows over him. Now Anthony. And he can't believe that didn't strike. He had plenty of ball tracing down the lane. He actually sent the 5-pin behind the 7. That's how much ball he threw. And he takes out the 7-pin, so we've got an even match to start. Both players beginning with a mark. Slight advantage to Dillon because he put a strike up. But now Anthony on the left lane. Cut that one a little short. Comes up high and leaves the 3-6-10. We've seen this a few times today. Here's how you make it. Put the ball on the right side of the 3. The ball will get the 6. The 6 will get the 10. No, but he got too much of the 3 and chopped the 3-6 off the 10. He played it down the right side of the lane. I don't like that. Doesn't give you a good angle at that spare. And Dillon takes advantage. Puts another strike on the board. That's a double to start. And he's off to a 24-pin lead. This kid is built like a bowler, isn't he? Lean and mean. But he leaves the 3-10. Now this is very similar to the 3-6-10. You just put the ball on the right side of the 3 and let it deflect off into the 10. You don't want to hook it too much. I'm telling you, you want to shoot this down the left side of the lane. He's going to play down the right side. I don't like this. And that's why. Let me show you why you want to play the 3-10 from the left side of the lane. See the angle? It narrows the gap between the 3 and the 10 pins if you play it straight from the left side of the lane. The farther right you move, the wider the gap between those 2 pins. The same is true with the 3-6-10. It increases the chances of a chop. Anthony, a little high, leaves the 4. But a good ball. Didn't miss by much. Tell you what, you see players leaving 10s and 4s. You know they're right there. Just a little better carry, and they are right there. That's a little better carry right there. So much better, in fact, it's worth a second look. Playing right around the 4th arrow. And brings it back off of about the 7 board. Pulled it. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. That's the play that Dillon's probably going to have to fight until he learns to get that swing plane corrected. He's a good little bowler. He's just got a couple of little mechanical flaws that can be fixed. I don't know if he's got a coach up in Tennessee. I would guess that he probably does. You don't get as good as he is just doing it on your own, usually. There's a better ball. Gave it room, just didn't quite get it to drive through the way he wanted. Leaves a wall shot 7. Sometimes known as the Shaker 7. And he just keeps the ball on the lane enough. He shows signs of relief. All right, Anthony trying to put a double up. Well, that's not the way we would draw it up. And he knows he got away with one, but that is a double. And with that, he takes the lead. Watch this. He missed almost a full arrow to the left. But he sends everything over to the right side of the pin deck. And surely something's there to take out the 10, and there was. Ooh, that's not what he wanted. The big 4. The 4, 6, 7, 10. And not a whole lot you can do with this. Just take a couple of them and hope something bounces out. Let's go down lane side.
You have a preference who you'd rather bowl?
Maybe not Anthony because he has two-handed carry. But you never know.
So what do you think it's going to take?
Spares. We're striking a lot, but I see some splits in most of the games.
Okay, well, good luck.
Yeah.
He knows what Anthony's capable of. He doesn't really know what Dillon can do. He's hoping for Dillon. He may be hoping for the devil. Looks to me like Dillon can bowl a little also, as he shreds the rack that time. Now with a strike up, he can move out to a 27-pin lead. How about that? And we'll take another look at that shot as Anthony has to re-rack. That's 10 back. Can't do it much better. Watch his reaction to it. He liked it. So now Anthony awaiting a fresh rack of pins. And leaves a 4. Just a little high. He's been that close most of this match. But now, down to the last 3 frames, and he's got his back to the wall. He could use 3 more of those in the 9th and 10th. Watch this one. Gives this one plenty of room. Right over the 4th arrow, out to about 11 at the break point. Playing a little farther inside than he was earlier. And Dillon says, I got your strike right here. That is a 37-pin lead, and he is putting some distance between himself and Anthony. He's playing right along the oil line. But he threw that one a little hard, so it didn't quite have a chance to read the lane. Therefore, it didn't quite get up to the pocket. Now, that is sometimes a characteristic of the type of shot, the type of miss we've talked about with Dillon. That pull shot, you'll tend to throw it a little harder than one that you let go a little wide sometimes. But he takes care of the spare and maintains a 36-pin lead heading into the closing frames here. Anthony gotta have a strike. Oh, man. Well, that's one way to do it. He had to have one there. I know that's not the way he was trying to get it, but it's a crossover, a trip 6. Thank you very much. He has a possible 208. Well, he had a possible 208. Now, not so much. Now he's just got a possible 184, and that's probably not going to do it. It's the bucket, the 2-4-5-8. And he converts it. Now he's got one more ball before Dillon's up. A strike for 184. And he throws his plastic ball and strikes. So all Dillon has to do is keep it on the lane and stay behind the foul line. We'll take another look at Anthony showing off, striking with his plastic ball, as if it's going to make a difference. Pretty good shot, though. All right, he needs 1 pin. Well, if Anthony had struck out in the 10th and shot that 204, Dillon would have needed a mark here in the 10th. But as it turns out, he's already got it in the bag now. It's an open in the 10th, but he doesn't care. He shot 200, and that's good enough to beat Anthony's 184. And it's going to be our visitor from Tennessee, Dillon Hubley, against Nick Dischinger for the championship next. Hey, it's me, Coach Randy, with exciting news about a new way you can help support Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Over the past couple of years, we've had a number of Prodigy fans say they'd love to offer something in payment for the Prodigy content seen each week on YouTube throughout the bowling season. Well, I'm pleased to announce that Prodigy is now on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, in case you're not familiar with it, Patreon is a platform where YouTube content consumers like you can connect directly with YouTube content creators like me and pledge a small amount of money each month to support the work that goes into creating the content that you enjoy watching. It's based on the age-old concept of patrons. About 30 to 40 hours of work goes into the production of each and every episode of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. So if you enjoy the content on Prodigy Bowlers Tour each week and you'd like to support the show, please check it out at patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour. There are 4 affordable subscription tiers, and each one offers a different reward, up to and including sneak peeks of shows before they're released to the public, exclusive behind-the-scenes content that only members will ever see, and there's even a tier that will enable you to get all that and get your name in the credits each week as a producer of the show. You'll be helping me to be able to continue making the show each week and even reinvest some of the money into improving the show going forward. Thanks for checking it out, and thanks for supporting Prodigy Bowlers Tour. A turkey in the 6th, 7th, and 8th by Dillon and a disastrous Big 4 by Anthony spelled the difference in our semifinal match. So while Anthony made the score respectable toward the end of the match, it was Dillon Hubley, our last remaining visitor from Tennessee today, who has made it all the way to the championship match, where he'll get his baptism of fire against the hottest player on Prodigy Bowlers Tour this season. Nick Dischinger has already won 3 times this season, and today he'll be going for number 4. Nick also told me that he's got to meet his dad someplace across town here in just a little while, so he's going to try to shorten this match by throwing fewer shots. That means getting a lot of strikes. We'll see. Pretty good opening toss by Dillon, just comes up a little high, and he leaves the 4. This kid has shown me something today. Good spare. And now a familiar player to anybody who's been watching Prodigy Bowlers Tour in the 2018-19 season. And we've seen that before out of Nick Dischinger, haven't we? Now, I know some of you are going to ask, so I'll just tell you now. He's throwing a halo. And he threw it pretty well this time, I'd say. That's a perfect strike. So he's off and running. And he gets the light shaker to go, too. So, Daddy's going to try to keep that appointment with you on time, I think. Out to about the 7th board at the breakpoint. That is the ideal angle to come in from on the house shot here at Brunswick Zone Roswell. Just a little high again, and Dillon caught in 4-pin territory here. Couple of good balls that were just fractionally high. And he covers both spares, no problem. So the solution, just move your feet about a board left, move your eyes about a board left too. That's the adjustment here. Oh, and he almost got the light shaker to go, but this time the 7-pin wouldn't play. Watch this, watch the head pin. It'll go to the left wall, and usually it'll get the 4, 5, and 7, but man, it rattled all around the 7 and somehow missed it. But Dillon takes care of the spare. And now Nick just goes about his business. He won't show you much emotion on the lanes. I've never seen him get too carried away. He is a cut-up when he's not bowling. Sometimes he's a cut-up when he is bowling. But he doesn't leave his opponent laughing much when he keeps doing that to them. That is just a heavy, heavy rolling ball. He has some of the best carry of any of these young bowlers I work with or work around. Can't really say I coach Nick. His dad coaches him. Look at this. He's got all the shots. Watch this messenger. Gets it out wide. Here it comes. And if the head pin hadn't have got it, I think the 7-pin would have. How do you get the 7-pin to fall all the way over into the 10? Watch this. Ball change. And this one goes even higher than the one he was throwing before. He needs to move his feet left, move his eyes a little left. That's the adjustment here. Oh, no. Well, he's got to just stay focused. He's close. He's been right around the pocket every time. This ball in the 4th frame was really the first one that had no chance of striking. There's what he's looking for. He just shreds the rack. That is definitely worth a second look. Now he's into about 13 at the arrows. Bellies it out a little bit, and that one comes roaring back. A big-time X. And Nick is human after all. Comes up a little high, leaves the 4. Well, watch this. The 2-pin is going to be the culprit. It goes to the left wall. It tries to get between the 7 and the 4, but it misses the 4 this time. And rather than going hard and straight at the 4, he hooks one of his strike balls at that pin. He prefers to shoot left side spares that way. He's been trying to learn to throw a plastic ball at left side spares with mixed results. But if you throw the first ball there, you don't have any left side spares to shoot. Or not many anyway. Man, he's throwing it well. 3rd arrow out to about 6 at the break point. He's got a pocket about 3 boards wide. There's another good strike by Dillon. Now he's got this lane measured with this ball that he's gone to. Now, for those who might want to ask me what Dillon is throwing, the answer is I have no idea. Maybe he'll post it here on our YouTube page. Oh, he got that one a little wide, and he threw it a little extra hard. And it never read. So he's got the washout now, the 1-2-8-10. Just get that ball over to the left side of the head pin. We should be able to make it. But he gets a little too much of the one pin. And that is an unfortunate open in the 7th. But the way Nick is going, I think Dillon would probably need about 13 frames to catch him. Yeah, there's another one. Nick is just locked in. His first game in qualifying, he threw 11 strikes and had an open for 267. And he hasn't looked back. Ho-hum. Must be nice. He makes it look really easy. I'm sure he practices. I don't see him practice that much. I know he stays after league on Tuesday nights. But I don't see him putting in 100 games a week, talking about Nick. Nice shot here by Dillon. He just throws it solid in the hole. 10 in the pit. A little light this time. The dreaded light 4-pin, but trailing by 70. I think Dillon knows where this is going to wind up. So now he will have a seat and see if Nick can throw 279. He needs 4 more strikes to do it. I was saying about Nick, he doesn't practice that much. This kid is just naturally gifted. Well, let's take a look at Nick with our 3-up view. In the first, third, and 7th frames, those shots look pretty similar. Let's see how similar they are as we lay them on top of one another. It's nice to have a repeating swing. The paralyzer. Comes in light, tries to get the wall shot, but the 5-pin gets stuck. Look at this, he doesn't even take any time to get lined up. He just throws it. And well, it serves him right. Well, he does have fun bowling. I will say that about Nick. And he's just going to have fun here in the 10th frame. And he accepts congratulations from Dillon. And they will both finish out the 10th frame here. Now, I got to hand it to Dillon when The cause is lost. He's still up there giving it his best. And I do respect that. That is a 256 for Nick. Dillon had to come loaded for bear this game. He is going to finish with a 179 with a conversion here, but he has nothing to be ashamed of. He just ran into a buzzsaw. All right, 177. But we had one winner from Tennessee and two others made the show, but it's Nick Dischinger once again who will sign the coveted trophy pin when we return. Now, from the Prodigy Bullers Tour Newsroom, with reports from around the world, across the nation, and up your alley. This is Prodigy Striking News. Dateline, Augusta, Georgia. Gavin Murray, who you saw in the opening match in the Bigs on our show today, used his appearance on Prodigy as a jumping-off point. The following day, Sunday, November 4th, he finished first in the U15 boys division at the Georgia Youth Bowlers Tour event held at Brunswick National Lanes in Augusta. His brother Gavin finished fifth in the U12 boys division, right behind Dillon Hubley, who finished fourth. And Prodigy star Spiro Schenk finished runner-up, just 2 pins behind winner Carson Barnes, who I'm determined to get on Prodigy one of these days soon. Over in the U17 boys division, C.J. Petrin took top honors this month, finishing almost 100 pins ahead of runner-up Logan Fossum. In third place was Jake Holbein. And Mark Fulvio, who made several appearances on Prodigy last season, qualified for junior gold with his 5th place finish. One other name familiar to some of our Prodigy viewers, Travis Knox, who you saw on our season-ending adult youth Scotch doubles 9-pin no-tap race to 300 last June, won first place in the U20 boys. In other news, in Charlotte, North Carolina, just up the road from Myrtle Beach, the Georgia All-Stars took first place in the overall Interstate All-Stars tournament at Planet Fun Bowl. This unique team event pits 15 and under boys and girls teams and 16 and up boys and girls teams against all-star teams from North and South Carolina. And both the boys teams from Georgia took first place, leading Georgia to an overall first place finish. So congratulations to the whole team.
Who just won today? Georgia! Who just won today? Georgia! I can't hear you! Georgia! Who just won today? Georgia! Hold up, come on, get in the middle! Georgia on 3! Georgia on 3! 1, 2, 3, Georgia!
And that's the latest from the lanes this week. This is Coach Randy reminding you to grip it and rip it.
You don't have time to do the real thing. Download Bowling by Jason Belmonte, the most realistic bowling game ever made, on iOS and Android right now.
Once again, congratulations to Gavin Murray, one of our 3 visitors from Tennessee today. He took top honors in the Littles division. And over in the Bigs, well, this is getting to be a habit that's proving hard to break. Once again, it's Nick Dischinger who has found himself in the winner's circle. And we all know what that means.
This is becoming a weekly ritual with you.
Well, I'm only here every other week. 4 or 5, Nick?
Yeah, but it's not supposed to be this easy.
It's house show. Why not? I said he would.
How many wins is this?
4.
4. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Nick, Bobic, Banana, Fana, Fofic, Fee-Fi, Fomic, Nick.
Nick, Bobic, Banana, Fana, Fofic, Fee-Fi, Momic, Nick.